Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I am going to be talking about Dungeons & Dragons and whether it is successful. So I'm going to pose the question, is Dungeons & Dragons successful? And my answer, my personal answer to this question is no, it is not, okay? So let's talk about it, all right? Now, the reason why I think that Dungeons & Dragons is not successful is because, specifically, the untapped potential of Dungeons & Dragons is greatly outweighed by the untapped potential of Dungeons & Dragons greatly outweighs its manifested victory. Okay? So essentially, what can be done with the game is greater than what has been done with Dungeons & Dragons. And so, for me, that means it's not successful, all right? Now, I hear everybody's like, are you kidding? Last year, 8.6 million people played Dungeons & Dragons. There's more games of Dungeons & Dragons being played today than ever before. All these things are true. The game is right now sitting on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, the greatest edition of all the games. I truly believe Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition is the best edition ever published, okay, of the game. The game Dungeons & Dragons surpasses every TRPG on the market. I believe every single thing that I just said is true, okay? And so people are saying, what are you saying it's not successful? Why are you saying that, right? Here's why, okay? One, there's quite a few reasons, so let me start listing them out. All right, so one, last year, 2017, ICV2 said the entire size of the entire tabletop role-playing game industry is $35 million. There are yachts that cost $35 million, right? Is such a tiny amount and so let's talk about another. It's so small, the entire industry is so small, right? The Fizzy Five, the Physical Five, the five companies, there's only 5 companies in all of America where people put on their pants or their skirts in the morning, drink their coffee, and go to make tabletop role-playing games full-time with full benefits like a real job, right? Those Fizzy Five is Wizards of the Coast, Paizo, Evil Hat Games, Monty Cook Games, and Fantasy Flight Games. That's it. That's all there is, right? And if I'm wrong on that one, please, I invite your input. I hope there's a Fizzy 6. But let's get it. Yeah, so that's all there is, right? It's really, really small, okay? So you have all of that happening, right? And to me, when I look at that, I see massive, untapped potential. There was one point where there were 600 people working at TSR, right? I doubt there's even 50 there today, right? Working on Dungeons & Dragons. And that's tough. That's tough to see, man. That's hard, right? So what else are the reasons? So here's the big one, right? I think the reason why people would say, yes, it is successful, is they see Dungeons & Dragons as a game, right? I don't really see Dungeons & Dragons as a game. I see it as an element of Americana. And when you see Dungeons & Dragons for what it truly is, you can see it is just draped. It's like frozen in the amber of untapped potential. And it feels like it's vibrating, trying to break out, right? All right, so what do we mean by an element of Americana? An Americana element, right? Well, let's list them out, right? So baseball, comic books, Coca-Cola, right? That is Americana, all right? These are things that were birthed in America, right? And here's why I know Dungeons & Dragons is not successful. Why I know its untapped potential greatly outweighs its manifested victory. And the reason why is basically, where are the billions? Where are the billions, right? Billions of dollars. All of the other Americana elements that I have listed have billion-dollar industries connected to them. Billion-dollar industries, okay? Coca-Cola, multi-billion-dollar industry, right? They make billions, right? They are a global brand, right? Baseball, billion-dollar enterprise. You know, there's billions of dollars connected to baseball, right? And comic books. Man, there's tons of billions being connected to comic books, right? Comic books are at an all-time high. They carry cultural freight from America to every single country on Earth. All of these do, right? Baseball is played on every single country on this earth. You know, Coca-Cola has been drunk on every single country on this earth. Comic books have been read on every single country on this earth, right? And that's my issue is, and here's the kicker, Dungeons and Dragons is a more important and a better Americana element than any of them. They all pale. They all pale compared to Dungeons and Dragons. What was done with Dungeons and Dragons, it's systematized fantasy, right? So basically, Tolkien came forward and lifted up to the whole earth what fantasy actually should look like, right? And he he slammed the standard into the ground, and it's been a flag that has been waving on a hill for 70, 80 years since he released The Lord of the Rings, right? Gary Gygax came along and he systematized that fantasy that Tolkien had presented, and he codified it, right? And he said, this is how we turn it into something truly special and make it accessible and make it a story engine, right? And also beyond that, in some ways, I think what Gary created is just now, it's still in the amber. We're chipping the amber away to see the true shape of what he created. And one of them is, I think there's wisdom still locked in the game that nobody has really seen. We're starting to get ideas of it, and you can see right now that the community is using Dungeons and Dragons in ways no one expected, right? And it's wonderful. It's really wonderful, right? But there's so much untapped. To me, I think about the core four. I think about the fighter, the rogue, the cleric, the wizard, right? Each one of these is a life path, right? You can apply these to your life and live your life like a fighter, live your life like a wizard, live your life like a rogue, live your life like a cleric. You can multi-class, right? You could drape, important lessons that can be learned from each one of these classes onto ourselves. And I've been fortunate to do that. I have definitely done that. I've definitely multi-classed. I've been so blessed by this game. My life has been transformed by Dungeons and Dragons. I read more. I learned how to talk to people through Dungeons & Dragons. I learned how to lead through Dungeons & Dragons. I learned how to research through Dungeons & Dragons. I learned how to remember through Dungeons & Dragons. I learned what the capacity of my brain is through Dungeons & Dragons. It is a transformative part of my life, right? And I want that to be all over. I want it to spread like a virus, right? But right now, I think we're not there, right? And there are choices that need to be made with the game as a community and Wizards of the Coast, right? Now, so I just don't think we're there, right? There's just the untapped potential greatly outweighs the manifest victory, right? Now, I want to be really clear. This is not a failure of anyone who has ever picked up the banner of Dungeons & Dragons and carried it forward. No one. I believe that every single designer, every single creator for Dungeons & Dragons did everything they could to untap all of the game's potential. Some people did it better than others, okay? Mike Merleson, Gary Gygax, he has a special place, and I don't compare him to anybody else who's ever been in the community of Dungeons & Dragons. He's just on a different level, right? Mike Merles, he's a personal champion. I truly believe he saved the game back in 2014 when he released 5th edition. He was in deep trouble from 4th edition, and I think he saved the game. And now, right now, so I believe that Mike Merles saved the game in 2014, and right now, I believe he is bringing, this is just my opinion, nobody has said this, this is me projecting something I see coming, right? Me making a prediction. I think Kate Welch was hired to be the 6th edition lead designer. I think Mike Mearls, that's exactly why he brought her in. It's an absolutely brilliant plan, right? Strong media presence, incredibly intelligent person, right? She is going to pick up that banner and run across the field, and everybody's going to see that flag, right? And my point is, none of the designers, none of the company owners, right? It's not their failure, right? The game is not a success, in my opinion. Oh, by the way, I'm going to say what I think it is, right? So I'm saying it's not a success, right? Because it just has too much untapped potential. It's like, if you had an orange and you took out one of the segments and juiced it and then just left the rest of it on the table. That's what I think we're looking at with Dungeons & Dragons. But that is not from a lack of effort. I believe every designer, every writer, every person connected to TSR, Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro, that's touched Dungeons & Dragons, has done what they could to move that banner forward, to keep it high in the air, right? Those banner carriers, right? I think the reason it's failed is the shape of our world, right? From day one, Dungeons & Dragons has had competition for attention, competition for relevance, incredible competition. And it is on intellectual property, right? And so right now, in our world, there's so many good IPs, and that competition is higher today than it's ever been. So it's not a failure of anyone who's ever worked on Dungeons & Dragons. I believe everybody's done a great job in pulling it forward. Heinzu and Moldvay, and, there's just so many names, that reach back. Monty Cook. There's just Bill Slazevics. Side note, I massacred his name. There's just so many. Like, there's John Tweet. There's just so many, great designers out there who have really carried this forward. Kate Welch, right now, right? These people are doing everything they can to move this game forward. Margaret Weiss, Hickman, these are just important names. These are people who have really done what they can to carry the banner of Dungeons & Dragons forward. This is not as, and so what I would say the game is, it's not successful. I really don't think it's successful because there's just so much left on the table right now, right? It is momentous. It is momentous. There is momentum that has been with the game since the beginning, and that momentum is still building now. But I really feel there's just so much more to do, right? And so, and I really just feel like I look at baseball, Coca-Cola, comic books. I see the billions of dollars just rubbed on to those American Elements, every day. And then I look at the $35 million, industry that TRPGs are, and I think it's wrong. And it's just, we don't have enough. All right, right now, we have not done enough to untap that potential for the game. And I'm not calling anybody to say, oh, hey, anything was done wrong. I'm saying more needs to be done. I think we're on the right path. I really feel that the future of the game is Kate Welch. I think 6th edition, I think if it's not, I think one, she's being protéged now to build 6th edition. And I think 6th edition has so much potential, and there's so many things you can do with it, and it's so special. And I can't wait to see it. Each new edition is such a blessing. Now 5th edition is really wonderful. I love those books, and I love what the Dungeons & Dragons community is doing with it right now. Right, there are definitely things I would do differently, but the reality is we have a healthy community, right? But one of the things I think is, perfect example. So Google looked at, they sell ads, right? That's what they do, right? And Google started saying, we're going to wire cities with internet cable so people can be on the internet more efficiently, faster, better, right? And the reason why is if people are using the internet more, we're going to be able to do more as Google. We're going to be able to serve up more, ads through our searches and around our searches. We're going to be able to grow this company, supply more jobs, and create awesome things for our customers, right? So they're saying, we are going to push up internet use because we know that every person who uses the internet, they're going to be on Google, right? Where are we as a community? Are we saying we're going to forward literacy because we know that every person who learns how to read well or even read at all is going to read a Dungeons and Dragons book because this banner is going to be carried everywhere. This banner is going to be on every hill because it's the best piece of America. It's the best element of America that's ever existed. It's better than, it is, from the perspective of Americana. It's the best Americana element that's ever, it's better than baseball. It is better than comic books. It is better than Coca-Cola. Dungeons and Dragons is the thing, right? What it brings to people, the way it transforms lives is better than all three of those things. Especially, why do I say, Dungeons and Dragons is better than baseball? Baseball is great, right? It makes you really healthy. You learn how to throw a ball, right? We're a knowledge worker society now, right? How are those skills going to really help people, today when the vast majority of well-paying jobs are knowledge worker jobs, right? Guess what? Dungeons and Dragons play is rock solid foundation for knowledge work, right? That's what I'm saying. And Coca-Cola isn't going to, that's not a super awesome, Americana element better than Dungeons and Dragons. And comic books, they are wonderful, right? You do get to read them, and they're inspiring, right? But there's less words and less prose than Dungeons and Dragons. And I truly believe you take, the white box, Dungeons and Dragons that Gary Gygax wrote, and you hold that thing up next, I wouldn't trade a white box for 10, a number one Batmans or number one Supermans. It's just better. It is a better Americana element. So if you think Dungeons & Dragons is a game, you might think it's successful. If you understand what Dungeons & Dragons actually is, an Americana element, and I really believe the best Americana element that has ever existed, you know that its untapped potential exceeds its manifested victories. And so at this point, what do we do about that? Well, one, I'm doing what I can right now, right? Recently, I stopped game mastering, and the reason why is a very good friend of mine who's much younger and is learning to be a game master. I realized that the games I was running were cutting him off from running games, right? So whatever we can do personally to help the game grow. And last night I played in a game last night with my buddy and said, I have two more players that want to be at this table. Can you bring them in? You know what I mean? So we do what we can to grow Dungeons and Dragons. We all root for Kate Welch. I really, really believe she is the future of the game. If she becomes the 6th edition lead designer, I think we will see a game that will surpass Mike Merle's 5th edition. And that, I think, would be a launching pad. It would be rock solid. It would be, 6-foot cubes of concrete in the ground, a foundation that we could blast Dungeons and Dragons to the moon and beyond from. I think Kate Welch is positioned to build the greatest edition the game has ever seen, and I want to make it so that the manifested victory outweighs the untapped potential. Thank you.